I call the September 17th, 2020 meeting of the Farragut Municipal Planning Commission to order. We're conducting this meeting tonight through the this is a regular meeting of the Planning Commission, but it's online and it's in order with the governor's executive order due to the pandemic. So we will continue that as long as he wants us to. During the regular meeting portion, we will ask that comments that are not related to the meeting wait until we have the public comment section later. And then I think Mark has had quite a few people who have sent in remarks that they want in the record, and he will read those to us and put that in the record for us tonight. After the way we're going to do this is after I have read the item that we're considering, Mark will give us his input on the agenda, and I will call on each commissioner for questions for Mark. Then we will have the applicant give us their statement, and again I'll call on each commissioner for questions for the applicant. After we do that, I will again take questions from any commissioners. Just I ask that you get my attention, and we'll do this in an orderly fashion. I'll write your name down and then we'll go back and call on you. Don't want everybody talking over everybody else, but we want to give everybody a chance to finish up with their questions. So if we have everybody ready to go, we'll get on with this. Mark, do you want to call the roll?
Yes.
So make sure we've got everybody here.
Yes, ma'am. Chairman Holliday.
Here.
Commissioner St. Clair. Here. Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Bellamy.
Here.
Here. Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Vice Mayor Pavlin here.
Commissioner Dick.
Here.
Commissioner Ruffs.
Present.
Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers present.
The record shows that all commissioners are present, 9-0.
Thank you. We'll move on the agenda with the approval of the agenda. Mark, do we have any changes?
We do not have any changes from the advertised agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Mark, do you need to call the roll on that?
Yes, I will on all the items, please. Chairman Holliday.
Aye. Oh, well, I need to abstain. No, this one, I'm sorry. Here, or aye.
The approval of the agenda, yeah. Commissioner St. Clair.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy.
Aye.
Mayor Williams. Mayor Williams. Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Aye.
Commissioner Dick.
Aye.
Commissioner Russ.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
Item passes 9-0.
We'll move on to the approval of the minutes for the August 20th, 2020 meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those, so Mark,
Okay. Commissioner Holliday.
abstain.
Commissioner St. Clair.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams. Aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Aye.
Commissioner Dick.
Aye.
Commissioner Russ.
Aye.
And Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
And the motion passes 8-0-1 with Chairman Holliday abstaining due to absence.
Okay, moving on to item number 3. Discussion and public hearing on a re-subdivision plat for lots 17 through 19 in Unit 2 of Split Rail Subdivision, Zone R-1, OSR. Adam Schlimming, Land Survey Applicant.
This is a minor subdivision, plat of correction, really. It involves just a slight shifting of two side property lines involving 3 lots in the Split Rail Subdivision off of Everett Road. Apparently, when construction started on the house on lot 18, the middle lot there, it was found that part of the driveway on 17 was on lot 18. So instead of taking out part of the driveway, they just opted to shift the property lines between 1 and 2 feet. So everything still complies as far as the size of the lots, the setbacks, coverage. So the staff does recommend approval of this plat of correction subject to obtaining the signatures.
Okay, I will call the roll, asking if we have any questions. Michael Bellamy, do you have any questions?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Commissioner Myers?
Commissioner Myers does not have any questions.
Commissioner Dick?
Questions?
Commissioner Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Russ?
No questions.
Commissioner St. Clair?
No questions.
And I do not have any questions. Commissioner Pavlin?
Vice Mayor Pavlin has no questions.
Mayor Williams?
Mayor Williams, questions.
Do I have a motion?
I move for approval. This is Commissioner St. Clair.
Second?
Second.
Yep.
Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll call roll. Chairman Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Mayor Williams,
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Commissioner Myers, aye.
and the item passes 9-0.
Moving on to item number 4, discussion and public hearing on a rezoning of property at 1013 McPhee Road from agricultural A to open space residential overlay, R-1 OSR, 24.85 acres, Rackley Engineering Applicant.
Yes, this item is really an amendment to a rezoning request that was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission in June, but was not approved at the board level. Originally, the request was to rezone the property to OSMR because there's a 100-foot overhead utility transmission line easement that runs through the property. So the majority of the board, mayor and alderman members, wanted to see a single-family detached as the plan of development in that area. So that was the main reason for the vote against the original request. So the applicant has gone back and amended their request to the OSR, which only allows detached single-family. The OSR is similar to the OSMR. It's the same density. It's just you don't have the option of having attached in that zoning district. Both zoning districts are consistent with the open space cluster land use designation of this piece of property. So the staff does recommend approval of this rezoning request through resolution PC-20-12. Recommending approval of ordinance 20-18.
Going down the roll again to ask if anybody has questions. Commissioner Bellamy?
No questions.
Commissioner Myers?
No questions from Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Dick?
No questions on Commissioner Gibbs.
Commissioner Green,
Commissioner Green has no questions.
Commissioner Russ,
No questions.
Commissioner St. Clair,
I have no questions.
Commissioner Holiday, I have no questions. Commissioner Pavlin
I have no questions.
and Mayor Williams.
Mayor, no questions.
Is the applicant with us?
Yes, ma'am. This is Russ Rackley, P.O. Box 30456, Knoxville, Tennessee 37930. Mark laid out our application. We are simply amending to the desires of the board and mayor alderman when they denied OSMR to go back to OSR for detached only.
Okay, we'll go through it again. Commissioner Bellamy, do you have any questions for the applicant?
No questions.
Commissioner Myers,
Commissioner Myers, no questions.
Commissioner Dick,
No questions.
Commissioner Green,
No questions.
Commissioner Russ,
No questions.
and Commissioner St. Clair.
I have no questions.
Commissioner Holiday has no questions. Vice Mayor Pavlin
I have no questions.
and Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, no questions.
Do I have a motion?
Move for approval. This is Commissioner St. Clair.
Second, that's Louise Pavlin.
Mike, will you call the roll, please?
Sorry, I was muted. Chairman Holiday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Williams, aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Commissioner Myers, aye.
and the motion passes 9-0.
Thank you for being with us tonight. Discussion and public hearing on a preliminary plat for the Brookmere subdivision, Phase 2, 52 lots, Zone R-1 OSR, 87.34 acres, loose design applicant.
Yes, this is basically the preliminary plat that will finish out the Brookmere subdivision. In terms of preliminary plat, this is really just the second phase. They've had other phases of the final plat, but really this is just the second phase of the preliminary plat. The first phase actually platted was approved in March of 2018, and it involved 90 house lots. This one, it will serve the infrastructure for 52 lots for a total of 142 in the development. This will also be the phase that will provide a secondary connection through to West Kingsgate Road in the southeast part of the property. This item will need a variance request. It has a variance request for to lower the design speed at the intersections to 25 miles per hour. And the second would be to lower the design speed of Reverence Run Lane, and that's the street that's on the very eastern portion of the property, to 25 miles per hour. These are similar variances to what was approved as part of the Phase 1 preliminary plat. It helps to lessen the amount of grading involved in the development. And I think the applicant's here if you have specific questions related to those two variances. We will need to take action on the variances first, and then before we take action on the preliminary plat. But if you look at the preliminary plat there on the screen, the area to the right is Sugarwood. It backs up to both Sugarwood and Kingsgate, mostly Sugarwood subdivision, with Kingsgate to the south, or the lower part of the map there. This is the general grading involved in this particular phase. This is on the eastern portion of the property, northeast corner. It backs up to Sugarwood. And then if you go to the southeast corner, toward Kingsgate, the grading for that. And you can see the grading involved in the cul-de-sac and then the connector road down to West Kingsgate Road. And again, the overall grading of the entire development. A vast majority of the grading and construction was in phase one, but there is a substantial amount still that remains in this particular phase. So I'll open it up to any questions if anybody has any that I can try to answer. And I'll talk about, basically we are recommending approval of the variances and then approval of the plat itself, subject to the 8 conditions that were sent over to you yesterday.
I'll go through, Commissioner Bellamy, do you have any questions of the Mark?
No questions.
Commissioner Myers?
No questions from Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Dick?
No questions.
Commissioner Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Russ?
No questions.
Commissioner St. Clair?
I have no questions.
And Commissioner Holiday has no questions. Vice Mayor Poplin?
Are we just talking about the variances or are we talking about the plat as well?
Well, right now, we're just talking in general. You will need to take action on the variances first, and then we'll take action on the plat itself.
All right, well, I may as well ask it now. The 8th point in here is, please provide 12 by 18, no parking on pavement, fire lane signs on both sides of the streets less than 26 feet in width, as described in 2018 IFC section D103.6. Of course, I don't have access to that section. My concern is we're putting up these no parking signs, which can be rather unattractive in a neighborhood. And I don't know what D103.6 says with regard to the requirements. Is there a way that we can, I understand there's a narrowness there and they're concerned about fire trucks being able to pass. Is there a way could we do rolled curves? Is there a way to amend this situation so that they don't have to have extra signage in their neighborhood that could kind of muddy up what it could be a very beautiful neighborhood? And I mean, who needs to see extra signs? I'm just asking, what are the alternatives?
Well, yeah, and we met, the project engineer, Russ Rackley, and I met with Fire Marshal this morning, and that was one of the questions we talked about. I think we just need one sign for each direction of traffic flow. So it's not like you have a bunch of these signs all along the street. It's basically where there's been variances granted to have the streets less than 26 feet wide. That's the logic behind having it posted so that a fire apparatus vehicle can get through there in the event that people are trying to park on both sides of the street.
Understood. So what is the actual width of the streets?
There were variances to go down to, I believe, 22 feet on some of the streets. The connector street is 20 feet.
Yeah.
The roll curb is not particularly desired by Public Works, I don't believe. I think they'd rather have the extruded curb. Roll curb can be okay in the right place, but apparently there's some concerns about it from a long-term maintenance perspective. So I'd probably rather just leave the curbing that they have on the plans as part of this.
I mean, the only reason why, you know me, I'd rather have less pavement than more pavement, and narrower streets than wider streets, particularly when if we're designing these wider streets just to accommodate that 1% or less than 1% opportunity, then we've unnecessarily widened our streets and made them faster for the off chance that you're going to have a fire truck come in. And so I just want to make sure that it just frustrates me. I want to make sure that we're designing our streets so that they feel like they should be slow. And when we unnecessarily widen them for that off chance, it's just a bad precedent that's been set. So, Russ, are you guys okay with the just the one sign on each side?
Yes, this is Russ Rackley. I can give my address again if needed, but obviously we wish there was better coordination between the town and the fire marshal at the concept plan stage. Had we had known this early on, it may have affected some of our decision making. However, at this stage in the game, we're not willing to block or stop the progress based on what I count as 8 signs. It really is something that staff and in staff I'll include in that definition the fire marshal to get a little bit better coordinated on what's coming through on the front end to make sure that these things are identified and caught. Part of comment number 8 or condition number 8 of this approval is to place signs on roads that have already been final platted, built under development permits, final platted and accepted by the town and under a maintenance agreement, and now asking us to go back and put in signs. Obviously, our concern isn't the cost of the sign. However, I will note that we do choose to upgrade the poles for the signs, which are not inexpensive for ornamental poles. And so there is a cost impact to this, although not hugely detrimental to the scope of the project. But the bigger thing is visually. We have 20 some odd homeowners already living in there, and to come in and start popping signs up, possibly near or in front of a property corner of their lot could be perceived as a slight on them. So we just ask for approval tonight, subject to the 8 conditions, and we can work out with staff the details on the signage and their location and placement. But really just ask that the commission really implore staff and I'm not hating on Mark or Dan or anybody, but really just to get a little bit more coordination on the front end as it relates to some of the things that are asked for at concept, so that everybody knows what the game is. And I understand as an engineer, I can never be perfect no matter how hard I try. Nobody can, but this is just one example of something that comes up on the back end, finishing out a project, and should have been caught, early on in the process. The town of Farragut has a very thorough process. We go through more steps with you guys than just about any other jurisdiction, and just wish it had been caught earlier.
And I agree with you. I appreciate your input, Russ. It's the push and pull of, I think we have an ambition to lower the width of our roads because we know that in the past we have them extra wide. It accommodates these emergency vehicles, but it doesn't make for a pleasant experience for someone who might be walking on that road. And I agree with you. The extra signage, as a resident of a neighborhood, that would frustrate me. You don't need any extra signage. That I agree. I understand exactly what your concerns are, and I think it's a discussion that maybe the commission needs to have with staff to have a better understanding of what our goals are and how to achieve them. And make sure that we're not having to put extra signage up. So, point taken, and I appreciate your input.
If I may add one more thing, the most other jurisdictions that have adopted the IFC have amended their adoption, especially of the appendices, to tailor it. To give them some more leeway or flexibility. And obviously the 20-foot multimodal access between us and Kingsgate. I have no problem putting a sign at either end on that, because it's there's no homes, there's no driveways, there's one in Kingsgate, but it's that's understandable. But it's really just getting everybody on the same page as to what happens. And I'm all for less asphalt as an engineer and calculating stormwater and water quality. I'm for less impervious area, but there are unintended consequences when we go through this. So it's a good learning experience for everybody, and I appreciate y'all's cooperation.
And I appreciate what you're saying about when we adopted the appendices. Some of them are pretty stringent, and unfortunately, when we're passing those things, I'm sorry, I'm not about to read all of the building codes and fire codes, but I agree in not really understanding it on the front end. As we learn these lessons, we kind of need to dig through and say, okay, what is realistic and what do we need to understand? As a board of mayor and aldermen, what are our ultimate goals? So I appreciate that input. Thank you. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, Mayor Williams, do you have any questions?
Mayor Williams has questions.
Okay. Does the applicant have anything else he'd like to say?
No, ma'am. We respectfully ask for approval of the preliminary plat subject to the 8 conditions.
Mark?
We need to take action on the variances separately first. So first variance is to lower the design speed at the intersections to 25 miles per hour.
So moved.
Second.
Mark's going to do a roll call with us.
Yeah. Chairman Holliday.
Aye.
Chairman St. Clair.
Aye.
Chairman Green.
You mean Commissioner Green?
I mean Commissioner Green.
Well, I got promoted. Aye.
Okay. Commissioner Bellamy.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick.
Mr. Dick, aye.
Commissioner Russ.
Aye.
And Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
Okay, but that variance passes 9-0. The next variance is to lower the design speed of Reverence Run Lane, that easternmost road.
Move to
Commissioner
approve.
St. Clair, I move for
5 miles
approval.
per hour.
Approval of the design
Second.
speed.
I'm sorry, can y'all say that again? I know, Louise, did you make the motion?
Ed St. Clair made the motion and I made the second.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
and Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
Okay, that variance passes by a vote of 9-0. The next item is the plat itself for Phase 2. Staff does recommend approval of the plat subject to the 8 conditions. I don't know if you need me to read those or not, but they were the ones that were emailed to you all yesterday.
Move for approval with the 8 conditions.
Second.
Commissioner Dick,
Okay, so we got Vice Mayor Pavlin and Mayor Williams. Okay. And then I'll go with Chairman Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Mayor Williams.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Commissioner Dick, aye.
Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
Okay, the preliminary plat for Phase 2 passes by a vote of 9-0.
Thank you for coming in tonight. Or coming on tonight, rather.
Oh, you got one more.
Got one more? Do I have a motion? Or do we have more questions on that?
Just voted. We're moving on to number 6, Rita.
Yeah, we're finished with number
Okay.
5.
Okay.
Yep.
Item number 6, public hearing on a preliminary plat for the Goin Property Subdivision, 11 lots zoned R-1 current with R2 pending, 7.09 acres, Rackley Engineering Applicant.
This is the piece of property that was brought to us for rezoning request back in August. It's situated between Turkey Creek Road and Phase 3 of the Inverness subdivision. It will be going for, the rezoning will be going for second reading next Thursday to Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting. There were no issues at first reading, and I don't anticipate any at second. Given the width of the property and the amount of property involved in this small subdivision, they're proposing a cul-de-sac into the development with a sidewalk that would be on the west side of the street, and it would connect into the sidewalk that's in Inverness. There is no vehicular connection to Spring Branch Lane. As part of this subdivision, they have requested 2 variances from the subdivision regulations that will need to be acted on separately before we take action on the plat itself. And those variances involve the length of the cul-de-sac. The subdivision regulations, when cul-de-sacs are allowed, is limited to 5 feet. This particular cul-de-sac is 743 feet. The second variance is from the requirement to have more than one way in and out of the property in terms of vehicular
Hey, Mark,
connectivity.
can I cut in for a minute? If you aren't talking, can you guys mute? It's if someone's moving papers around or something. Tammy, can you mute, please? Thank you. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead.
So yeah, the second variance is dealing from the requirement for to have more than one public street vehicular access into and out of the development. So as I mentioned earlier, we'll have to take separate action on those variances before we take action on the plat itself. So the first variance request is the length of the cul-de-sac. The staff does recommend approval of this variance due to the size of the subdivision and the width of the property and the fact that the abutting properties are already developed or undevelopable in the case of areas to the immediate east and west. So there really aren't any other options as far as not having a cul-de-sac for this kind of piece of property. So for that reason, we do recommend approval of this first variance request. If anybody has any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Commissioner Bellamy, questions?
Mr. Bellamy has no questions.
Commissioner Myers?
Commissioner Myers has no questions.
Commissioner Dick?
No questions.
Commissioner Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Russ?
No questions.
Commissioner St. Clair?
No questions.
Commissioner Holliday has no questions. Commissioner Poplin?
Sorry, no questions.
Rebecca Williams?
Mayor Williams, no questions.
Do I have a motion for the variance?
Commissioner
So
St.
moved.
Clair, I move for approval of the variance because of the reasons stated.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Dick,
Mark will call the roll.
Yes, Chairman Holliday. Commissioner St. Clair.
Aye.
Commissioner Green.
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy.
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Poblin.
Vice Mayor Poblin, aye.
Commissioner Dick.
aye.
Commissioner Russ.
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
And the variance request passes 9-0. Second variance is from the from Article 3, number 18, connectivity, to allow this subdivision to not have more than one public street vehicular access into and out of the development. The staff does support this variance since the abutting properties have been developed or are undevelopable, and the subdivision is small. It only has 10 house lots. So for those reasons, we do recommend approval of this variance.
Do I have a motion?
I'm going to move to approve. For the
Second.
reasons stated.
Okay, Chairman Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Mayor Williams, aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Commissioner Myers, aye.
and the variance request passes by a vote of 9-0. The third item, action item, is on the plat itself. There were 9 subject twos that staff recommends that will need to be addressed as a condition of approval of the preliminary plat. Do I have any questions on those, or do you need me to go over those?
Mark, you said 9.
Yes.
I'm only showing 8. Is there a later revision to add a 9th one?
Oh, I'm sorry. I added one, the rezoning. My fault. Yeah,
Oh.
it was not in the email. Yes, I didn't think about it at the time before I sent the email out, but they just subject to the rezoning being finalized next Thursday, which I
Okay.
don't anticipate will be an issue.
I'll go down the roll real quick. Do we have any questions from Commissioner Bellamy?
Commissioner Bellamy, no questions.
Commissioner Meyer?
Commissioner Myers, no questions.
Commissioner Dick?
Commissioner Dick, no questions.
Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Russ?
No questions.
Commissioner St. Clair?
No questions?
Commissioner Holliday? No questions. Commissioner Pavlin?
I have no questions.
Mayor Williams?
Mayor Williams, no questions.
You'll need to take action on the plat now, I guess.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, Chairman Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Mayor Williams, aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Vice Mayor Pavlin, aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Gus,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
Okay, and the plat passes by a vote of 9-0 with the subject twos noted.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for being here tonight. Okay, we're moving on to item number 7. Discussion and public hearing on an amendment to the Farragut Municipal Code, Appendix A, zoning, Chapter 4, Section 24, special events permit to allow for food trucks for special events sponsored by Homeowners Association, Town of Farragut applicant.
Yes, this item was reviewed last month as a workshop discussion item. Initially, the objective was to provide for opportunity to have food trucks sponsored by homeowners associations, because currently the food trucks are only allowed for commercial, office, and not-for-profit entities. And obviously with the COVID pandemic, more people are staying at home, and there's more demand for subdivisions to interact, and these food trucks can provide a useful service for certain subdivision-related events. So basically, that was the main objective of this, was to provide for that opportunity. And while we were looking at that, staff felt that really the whole section ought to be looked at in its entirety. So we've gone in and updated this section of the zoning ordinance to make it more consistent with how these events have been applied by the town, and to update it with regards to the new sign ordinance and the provisions in the new sign ordinance. So I think the staff did address some of the language issues that were brought up last month, but if anyone has any questions about any of the draft language, I'd be happy to try to answer that. We do have this in an ordinance form, ordinance 20-19, and the staff recommends approval of resolution PC-20-13, which recommends approval of ordinance 20-19.
I'll go through it again with the role of asking questions. Commissioner Bellamy.
Commissioner Bellamy has no questions.
Myers. Commissioner Byers.
Commissioner Myers has no questions.
Commissioner Dick.
I have no questions, but I have comments. The COVID pandemic will not last forever. I think this would give someone who would be interested in theft a legitimate reason to be in a neighborhood. Are only Farragut businesses allowed to have these food trucks in the neighborhood?
No, it would be open to any food trucks. It's just the food trucks that are based in Farragut wouldn't be charged the $20 application fee.
Okay. Our subdivision streets are not wide enough for people, for 2 cars park on the street. And the third car would not be able to drive down. Therefore, I think there will be a traffic issue unless there's a large area around where the food truck is. And the sign, it's a 24 square foot sign. Where is it placed?
Well, one of the reasons why this is only allowed for homeowners associations is so it can be ideally on their clubhouse lots, or where there's parking available, so that there wouldn't be as much on-street parking. Individual citizens are not allowed to have food trucks. This would only be for homeowners associations that are or events sponsored by homeowners associations.
Mark, if you look down at 3F, the permitting process, it says if part of an event sponsored or hosted by a homeowner association having a tent, food truck, or any other outdoor activities, a site plan is required to show the locations for such activity.
That's right.
So there's an opportunity for them to have to come in and show us where they plan to hold this for safety reasons, because we don't want them in the street where kids can run into the street, and they're intended to be held out on the HOA property, in their parking lot, and if there is an issue, that's when it can be addressed during that process.
That's one of the things we're trying to do, and by providing for this is to give these homeowners associations some parameters to go by. Right now, it's kind of like a parking lot that has no parking spaces striped, and people just park everywhere because there's no guiding parameters. But at least by putting it through an application process, then there's specific things that homeowners association would need to provide as part of their application. So hopefully we would help in that regard.
Okay, and the other comment I have, 10 days to have these food trucks sitting in the neighborhood is pretty long. Is that because it covers 2 weekends?
Well, 10 days is that's not in a residential. Residential is only 3 days.
Okay. Thank you.
I really don't think the 10 days is related to the food trucks either. That's really related to the signage, is what the 10 days is talking about. That's out of our sign ordinance, that these events are good for 10 days.
Oh, okay.
And maybe that needs to be more clear. I guess you could have a food truck if it was in an approved location as part of that 10-day process. I don't personally have a problem with that, but.
Well, food truck would be the special event. So the
Yeah,
business
that's right. Yeah.
would be 10 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't see a food truck hanging out for 10 days though.
No, I don't think it would either. Really, that's kind of language geared toward the signage, but normally they may have an event. If they have an event that involves a food truck, usually my experience is it's a short-term event. They'll have it for part of a day. And maybe that's like a part of a grand opening or a major, event associated with the entity. But usually tents and food trucks are not long-term. They're not throughout the entire 10-day period. The sign might be, but those other structures on the properties aren't typically out there very long.
I do think that needs to be clarified.
Yeah, I can look at that, see if it.
Yeah, because you see special events. We've seen Oktoberfest went for 3 days. I can see a 3-day special event. But the special event signage, you're right, that's really what that 10 days for, is for the signage. So we might need clarity on that.
Okay.
Any more questions, Commissioner Dick?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Russ?
I just had one comment too. I think, Mark, you said that regarding Commissioner Dick's comments about neighborhoods, it's my understanding that for residential use that would not be limited to HOAs, but that there would be 2 permits allowed per year for individual residences. Is that the case?
That's right. Yeah, and that's what we currently have. It's just nobody ever. I've never issued one since we've had this. So really, what that's there for is to guard against somebody having a garage sale at their house every Saturday. Where it becomes in effect a business that they're running out of their home.
Right.
So that's the main reason why that's in there, is just to have something to fall back on if you need to force somebody that's kind of going a little bit overboard.
I gotcha.
And for clarity, Scott, they can't, individual homeowners cannot have a food truck, only the HOA.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Commissioner Sinclair, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I have no comments. Questions?
Questions or comments? Commissioner Popham, any more questions or comments?
No, I think I've said enough.
Mayor Williams?
Mayor Williams, none.
Do I have a motion?
Commissioner Myers, so moved.
And I'll second. Are we making the motion with the changes to clarification on these special event signage as opposed to the special event? Noah? Commissioner Meyer, did you hear my question? Because you're muted. You're muted.
Sorry, Commissioner Myers makes the motion with the changes that Louise suggested.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay, Chairman Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair. Aye. Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams.
Mayor Williams, aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Dick, Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
and Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
And the motion passes 9-0 with the revisiting the 10-day language. And I'll take a look at that.
Item number 8, discussion and public hearing on amendments to the comprehensive land use plan update as it relates to the mixed-use town center and use descriptions. Town of Farragut applicant.
This item, really, I guess this discussion started when we started looking at the town center at Biddle Farms project. And the staff reconvened the land use planning steering committee, who'd been working in the past previous couple of years on different areas, priority areas of the town. We've had some public meetings in different parts of the town. And so obviously we've always known that the mixed use town center was a critically important area of town. So really with this development coming in, it was a good time to really focus intensely on this portion of our land use plan and area. So what we did we've had a couple of meetings we had one on July 28th and August 19th. We've had also some discussions at staff developer and planning commission meetings in some manner dealing with this topic. But the main thing that I asked the committee members was just to forget about what we have right now adopted and just think about the concept of a mixed-use town center. What does it mean to you? What would be the key components that you would associate with a mixed-use town center? And with that, we kind of looked at the existing text of the land use plan. There's a couple of pages in the plan that deal with the mixed-use town center land use designation. It has 4 sections: the intent, uses, location, and character. Basically, when we looked through that language, for the most part, it seemed like the language provided for, the key components that most people thought a town center would have or should have. I guess the exception was to try to revisit the emphasis that it has currently on high density residential and its role in the mixed use town center and surrounding area. And to try to maybe take some other language that's in the plan and, blend that in with the language in the mixed use town center to bring in certain concepts that will take more into consideration the surrounding existing plan of development, so that what happens in the mixed use town center, particularly in terms of residential development and density, is consistent with its surroundings, and it doesn't create developments that are incompatible with their what they abut. So basically, what through this process, there's obviously some short-term things that we could look at, and then some longer-term elements of the town center mapping exercises and things that we probably would need to have a lot more engagement. in public meetings whenever that does occur. But the text itself is, for the most part, pretty straightforward. And what I did was just went through and looked at the existing text on these 2 pages, and basically and proposing to replace the text. I think it, in my view at least, it still promotes the key components that we want to see in a town center. What this text does is more succinctly states the provisions. We don't have as much, like some of this text is almost more of a regulatory text as opposed to policy statements, you know, talking about evening extended hours of operation and, you know, how you might market art galleries and things like that. And those are fine, but they don't probably necessarily need to be part of policy statements. And then just kind of look at some of the things that we talked about as a committee and what makes a place, a sense of community, emphasis on interconnectedness, iconic architecture, things that distinguish an area or a development from its surroundings. And then start looking at trying to not focus as much on density and what happens in a building, but look at the form and arrangement of buildings themselves in relation to each other, in relation to the street, in relation to the surrounding context, and develop some language, some policy statements that would speak to that. And then finally, really address this residential question and, you know, not necessarily take out the need for high density residential, but find a place where, you know, that fits in with the intent of the town center. So what I've proposed there in that regard on the uses part here on the screen, the 2 biggest changes under uses would be the last 2 residential uses with densities that are consistent with the transition and flex density concepts described in the COUP update. Residential density in the mixed-use town center should transition internally so that the density along a common boundary is compatible with the density of the existing abutting residential community. So, in other words, you wouldn't want to put a large multifamily building right against a single-family detached subdivision, or even a 2-family detached or attached subdivision. The scale and the form would be incompatible with each other. So what the transition and flex density concepts talk about in the plan is that what you have on the periphery needs to match what it is against. And then if you want to increase or decrease that, you do that as you move internal to the development. So that's always been those have always been concepts in our plan. They came about back when we talked about a rezoning that was proposed behind Ingalls, actually. And one thing that we did there was amended the neighborhood service or community service zoning district to provide for attached and detached residential around the periphery of those kind of developments, with the larger facility being more internal to the project. And that's an example of the transition concept, so that when you get to the periphery, whatever form of building is there is going to match what it abuts in a different development. So that's that concept. The second one was higher density residential. What's the role of high density residential in the mixed use town center? And be real clear about this, because I think the intent of having high density residential in the first place was to support a mixed use town center. So you have a more dense grouping of people that are within a convenient walking distance to support the downtown. Either they live above the downtown in a vertical mixed use building, or they're in a horizontal mixed use development similar to the Biddle Farm development that is they could walk to the downtown area. So it would be appropriate where it's part of a vertical mixed-use building as part of a downtown development plan, or an area that's immediately adjacent to and part of a downtown development plan that does not abut existing residential communities. So those are really the two main changes, those two bullet points under uses. The rest of it is just rewording basically existing provisions, and really making them more true policy statements. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, or I tried to revise that higher density residential language to really tie it to a downtown development plan. So if you don't have a downtown development plan that this is part of, whether it's within it or adjacent to it, where it doesn't abut existing residential communities, then you just can't do that high density project. You can't, for example, just put a large apartment complex on a piece of property, that's not really integrated and part of a downtown development plan. That's part of a master concept plan development. So with that, if anybody has any questions or any questions about any of the other recommended changes, I'll be happy to try to answer that or go through that.
Rita, would it be okay if I went first?
Okay.
This
Go
has
ahead.
kind of been my a push. I know Mayor Williams has been involved. Mayor Williams, it is okay if I go first?
You're more than welcome to. You're more than welcome to.
Okay, because I have a few amendments, so just kind of sit tight. And some of these are suggestions to kind of refocus ourselves. I'm not married to some of it. For instance, instead of calling it mixed-use town center, I was thinking we would call it the town center district, because some of the parcels will not be mixed use, and certainly will be part of a mix of uses. But I was throwing out there town center district. For intent, the first bullet point, provide for the creation of a unique town center, because I don't think that we're really creating a downtown per se, but we are creating a unique town center. And I think we need to kind of delineate that. The third bullet point, I kind of wanted to simplify it a little bit by saying provide for a built environment that prioritizes pedestrian activity but accommodates vehicular activity. In that saying that we're making sure that the buildings are in a human scale, that they're put together at a human scale, that there's a grid pattern. Obviously, we live in the suburbs and nobody wants to give up their vehicles. And so we should be accommodating vehicular activity, but it shouldn't be the focus. The focus should be our pedestrian activity. Under uses, the fourth bullet point, I simply made the change in the second sentence. It says residential density in the town center district should transition internally so that it doesn't, blah, blah, blah. I just changed from mixed use town center to town center district. The fifth point is where I kind of make some more definitive points, and I'll go through them first and I'll give you my reasoning why. I would say high density residential, not higher. High density residential, I would delete to support a downtown, should only be permitted, and I would delete in vertical mixed use building, all the way to and. So it reads high density residential should only be permitted as part of a mixed use town center development plan. And I have a sixth point I would add. A mixed use town center development plan, which includes high density residential, is intended to be located only in the area encompassed by South Campbell Station Road, Concord Road, and Kingston Pike. By doing this, I'm basically saying this is where our main mixed-use town center project with high-density residential should be located. We already have an existing center there that they've tried to make walkable. I think that we could work with them to beef up the walkability there. It makes sense to have a high density residential there. It doesn't, there's no other existing residential there. It's encompassed by 3 arterial areas. My concern is if we open this up to having more mixed use residential with high density residential elsewhere, we are compromising the success of this particular development. We'll end up cannibalizing a bit, and we need to have a focus. If this is, to me, this is our town center, and that is our focus, and we need everything else to work to complement it. So I think the rest of the town center development needs to be less intense and dense in this particular area. That's what I've been pushing for, and those were the changes that I wanted to make. And that's all I have.
Mayor Williams, do you have any comments at this point?
Well, this has pretty well covered what the steering committee looked over during all of our meetings, and this is, I think, we need to be in for the long term. So that's about all I have.
Okay, I'll go down the list here. Commissioner Bellamy, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I do not.
Commissioner Myers?
I do have a couple of comments. I do think that Louise's suggestion about changing it to a town center district is more representative of the type of development that's been proposed and the type of development that will probably continue to be proposed. So I think her changes were very appropriate. There is some, we've had some language in there that has to do with location and a 1 mile radius of that intersection. And we've had that language in there for a long time. And it gave me a little bit of heartburn years ago. But I, quite frankly, and this kind of goes along with what Louise was saying, I think that that general area is too large and too broad. As a matter of fact, that 1 mile radius actually encompasses my farm, which you wouldn't think is a mile, but it is. And I mean, I think when Louise said kind of delineating it between Concord and Campbell Station, obviously the Ford property may be one that we want to incorporate in there, but I do think if we're going to make some modifications to this, I think we should tighten up that geographic area.
Yeah, I actually looked at that too because I measured it. And the reason I didn't change that, it was if you went to the furthest extent of the West End Avenue development, I was going to propose 1/2 mile, but it was further than that. So I didn't end up proposing to change it. But I agree with you, that's a pretty wide area. And maybe we shouldn't even specify an area. Maybe it should just be based on where we end up mapping the land use area, the designation, and not worry about, because that's going to reflect where it is.
Mark, I think that's a great idea. Unless somebody sees a reason, I'd like to just strike location. That whole bullet, and just strike that out of there.
Because the location will be the map, so it's kind of redundant.
And Noah, I agree with your assessment. If we change the language for the purple portion to not be mixed-use town center with a density, but just simply designate this is where we consider our town center district. The generalities of a town center district is we want it to be walkable, whether it's a mixed-use development plan that we have, or if it's single-family residential or single-family attached, detached. In that area, we expect it to be walkable. So I appreciate what you're saying. I agree with you. The location kind of always threw me off too.
Okay, I'll move on to Commissioner Dick. Do you have any questions or comments?
I got quiet. I have no questions about this, Commissioner Dick.
Okay, Commissioner Green.
Yes, I do have a couple of comments. With Louise's comments, I kind of lost what the original proposed language was. So let me start from the proposed language. In the intent on bullet number 3, with your suggestion, Louise, did the term form and relation to public realm stay in there, or did you reword that?
No, I took that out. I understand what you're trying to get at, but it was kind of confusing. So I said, provide for a built environment that, and the rest of that sentence I took out and put in, prioritizes pedestrian activity, but accommodates vehicular activity. That way, we're getting in that idea that form and arrangement of buildings and in relation to the public realm, that's how you prioritize pedestrian activity, is by paying attention to the form, how it relates to the street. There's a lot that goes into creating a walkable community. And maybe pedestrian activity is not quite the word, but a walkable community, there's a lot of that goes into that recipe. And I wanted to make sure that we weren't excluding all the other things that needs to go into that.
Okay, I'm good with that. I just had trouble with the form. You know, I think we know what we're talking about, but if somebody picks this up and reads it, I'm not sure that they have the same understanding that we do, and the same goes for relation to the public realm. I'm not sure people understand what that means. So I'm okay with what you said there. My next comment is, I think it might have been in character, but it seems like we had some comments about emphasizing public service providers, and that's gone. Is that okay with everybody?
What does that mean, public service providers?
I think it meant a sheriff's office or something like that. That's kind of what I got out of it. That was in the original wording?
The only reason I took that out is I've got mixture of uses and variety in other places, and I didn't want to be overly prescriptive in a policy statement. I'd rather just keep it more general and let it be kind of organic as far as how it comes about. In fact, it had a prescription for a school in the current language.
Okay, I don't really have a problem with that, but I noticed it had gone away, so I thought I'd bring it up in case some of the folks that have been here a lot longer than I have didn't pick that up. And and I think that's the only comments I had. I think you did a really good job of picking up the intent and spirit of what the steering committee was trying to do here. So other than these comments, I think it looks pretty good.
I might need, Louise, I might need some clarification on that second part of where you talked about the location, the Concord Road, Campbell Station.
Okay.
I need to get that language again.
Yeah, I'll type that up for you and forward that to you. And
the reason I didn't be that prescriptive in the location was this is my perspective. I just was keeping it a little more open, depending on what you just never know what's going to happen with this project or the future in general. And what I was trying to do there was just to go back to what was the intent originally of providing for high density residential in the mixed use town center. Really, it was to support a downtown development. Yeah. That's really what it was there for.
Well, I guess
that's
why
what I was trying to do.
The reason why I'm being so prescriptive is because when I think about our town, the center of our town, and where strategically where a high density mixed use town center development would be most impactful and effective, it's where it's planned for right now because of the existing shopping that's there, the existing the schools, but that you were all on that side. We have that tunnel that we're ready to fund under Kingston Pike, which is an opportunity that the trail that runs behind the new Kroger development runs right up to where that tunnel's going to be, comes out on the other side. They'll be able to go over to the Admiral's Corner without having to worry about crossing Kingston Pike. Most of our existing commercial is on that side, and it's most of the existing opportunities for some condo developments are on that side. And we know that we're gonna have to work with TDOT to see if there's any solutions for the Kingston Pike Campbell Station Road intersection, because right now it is not pedestrian friendly. And a development, a mixed-use town center development with high residential anywhere else isn't going to be very connected because of that intersection. So I think about when you look at the Brooklawn. I didn't realize this until recently, and maybe I'm wrong. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. There is a walkway between the French Creperie, right after the French Creperie, that goes back to the trail that's back there. So you can cut back there and cut through and go behind the rest of that that strip mall where the sandwich shop is and everything to get to that trail. And that leads you right out onto Kingston Pike, close to where the new tunnel will be. So from a strategic point of view, it makes all the sense in the world that if we're going to have high density residential, that is the most, strategically speaking, the best place to put it. And it gives us an opportunity on the Ford property to look at the missing residential that we're missing and work a little bit differently with that one, and know that we're not causing a mess of trying to put high density on a piece of property that does not have as much accessibility as this particular property, because it's surrounded by 3 arterials. So those are kind of the reason why I think that we need to be that prescriptive about that particular piece of it.
This is Noah, Commissioner Myers. Unless we have some reason that we need to pass this tonight, I'd really be more comfortable if we could get the revisions that we talked about and then vote on it next month.
Mayor Williams, how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, if it depends on if everybody's uncomfortable. I'm pretty comfortable with what we've discussed so far.
We haven't finished the questions and comments.
No, it's true. We still like a few more commissioners, and but I think it's a little premature, Commissioner Meyer, to put it off until we hear a little bit more about what other folks have got to say about it.
So we will do that. Let's see, did Commissioner Russ, did you have to get to you for questions or comments?
The only really comments I have, I think it's been a lot of great work through the workshops and even the staff developer. I think we, checked off all the boxes, Mark, and I think you nailed it. I do lean to agree with Vice Mayor Pavlin's comments and Commissioner Myers' comments. And if that's what we need to do to postpone the vote to get those comments in, or vote, without, I could probably go either way on that. But I think it's, I think we're there. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Sinclair.
Yeah, I think Noah picked up one of the comments I had was a heartburn with just a 1 mile, radius type of approach to things rather than a boundary type approach to it. And so if we look into that and mitigate that, I'm good with that. Also, Louise, on bullet 5, there's still language in there using mixed use town center. Are you comfortable with that, or does that is that still in sync with what you were recommending on changing the use to town center district?
Yeah, well, because it's part of a mixed use town center development plan, which is what we're dealing with. By saying that, you're saying that it's a specific development we're working on, not necessarily the mixed-use town center in general. It's a particular plan that includes high-density residential.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to keep up with not seeing just a markup, but trying to translate words to the written text. Thank you. I guess just a social comment on where we're going with this, though. I think to think of additional high-density development in this same town center district, I really frown on that, and I also frown on a major connection over to Concord Road. We've got the side entrance that came past the old barn and from around the old Kroger thing, the red light there. If that becomes a major thoroughfare connection to this, it's going to exacerbate the issues on Concord Road. And Concord Road it's got a choke point. You're not going to widen it through those cemeteries.
Yeah. Well, and that's Commissioner St. Clair, when I look at that, I have an echo. I don't know if that's me or you. I see that's going to be more the people that already use that road that are going to be visiting the commercial side of it. I can't see how many people from the residential side of that will be accessing that road to go to North Shore. They have more convenient access from the Campbell Station Road part. They're going to actually have 2 access points on that side. So I see the traffic, and I would love to see obviously before they apply, they're going to have to do a traffic impact study. That'll certainly show.
I'm just trying to telegraph a concern there, because that we look at going down the road on this, because it's going to be further development in that core center. And so we're going to have to be sensitive to how the compounding of the issues become and how we're going to deal with it, because it's going to get worse. It's just a matter of how do we mitigate it.
Yeah. I will say this, a lot of, because that's people have mentioned, I did a quick and dirty analysis of this particular development with the 66,000 square feet of commercial and the 280 units of apartments, and did a basic traffic calculation impact. It came out to about 4,800 average daily trips. If we ended up just letting the market take it the way it wanted, we'd end up probably with another big box and a strip mall on that. And with the 22 developable acres, that kind of that yields about 220,000 square feet of commercial. Now, would that develop all at once? Not necessarily, but eventually it could very well develop that way, completely car-centric, and that yields about 8,800 average daily trips. So
I think we just have to be sensitive to what there's additional property there, and further development past what we've been looking at with the current concept from the developer. And we're going to have to really sharpen our pencils and thoughts on how that total build out looks like. And you're going to talk about North Shore. I don't think people are going to come out of this and go to North Shore through Concord Road, but there's a lot of traffic on Concord Road that cuts Concord Road coming from North Shore, and mainly a lot going either because they're going east on Kingston Pike when you get to the red light, or they're going straight across to the schools. And when school's in session or school's letting out, or going and coming in the afternoon, it's a pretty sporty activity right now to get in and out from either Concord Hills or Thornton Heights or anywhere in between that and Kingston Pike. So just be sensitive as we look no longer term. That's just what I wanted to bring up. But no, I'm comfortable with it. No further comment.
I guess
I'd like to address a comment on that. When we do change the lights out, we'll have more control over the red lights than what we do now. And of course, as you do ongoing traffic studies on that area, I think we'll be able to phase the lights to where we know we'll know what time of day that we're heavy and what time of day that we need to make sure that we keep the traffic moving to where there won't be an issue. I think that's what Commissioner Claire was really looking at is to make sure that we can do everything we can to keep the traffic moving. And I think these new lights will definitely help that.
And also the construction completion on down toward the North Shore in the traffic circle and up to Turkey Creek will certainly help too, because you can only use really one turn lane from Concord Road on the South Campbell Station there.
Yeah. I think that's going to be, Ed, I understand what you're saying, because we run the risk of turning that into like a mini Grigsby Chapel, where the traffic is flowing, but it's flowing so well that the people can't get out of Concord Hills. So
well, that's a problem now for people coming up from the North Shore, and they don't slow down to make a turn.
No.
It's just, it's as fast as you go around that corner, and it's only a short distance to the entrance of Concord Hills. Now, the other issue right now, because of the lane closure, is the fact that traffic backs up, and you cannot come out of Concord Hills and turn left. You just have to kind of hope you have friendly drivers, and and with my old Tahoe, I can get out in that traffic pretty easily. But it's very good, because the traffic coming from the school is bumper to bumper all the way back, past Thorn Hills. But it's a peak issue. All I'm saying is we got to look at it as a system, and
I agree.
Doing everything we can to mitigate it. And with the restriction of the cemeteries, there are some limitations. That's all.
This is John Green. I have a question back on the proposed language. Mark, did you catch all the comments that Louise suggested for rewording?
Yeah, I think I caught all of them except for the specific location where the high density residential would be prescribed.
Okay, I asked that. I think it's nice if we could approve this with the changes wording without postponing it, because we really wanted to get this part done.
Yeah.
So as we go on with the comments, when we get done with the comments here, perhaps you could just read your version of what comments changes you have, and maybe we can just go from there, and maybe we can get enough so that we can approve it tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry to interject it here, but
I think that's a good point, because her changes really were minor, in my opinion, pretty minor changes. The only thing that was relatively substantial was that bullet 5 under uses, I need personally some clarification on that one. But yeah, I can go back through those.
I think we're not done with all the comments yet, so
okay.
We probably should continue with comments.
Yes, my main concern has been the traffic through there in the morning, and then again at school letting out, and even late afternoon is very heavy, very heavy. Not to mention the fact that you have school, you have the new drivers who are not as careful as some of us old folks are about driving through there. So you have all those issues to work around. And I don't know how many of you drive through there at that time of day, but if you haven't, you need to, about 8:15, 8 to 8:15, even 7:30 when you've got the intermediate school and the primary school going in. Of course, you won't have quite as much of that business traffic at that hour of the morning, but you will in the afternoons. So I know years ago, some of those stores that were in where I call the old Food Line Center, they went out of business because people did not come to their businesses at the time of day in the afternoon when the schools were letting out. I used to exercise in that center, and there was, I patronized 2 or 3 of those stores that they told me that's why they were closing up, that they lost business in the afternoon when school was letting out. And so, and a couple of them also in the mornings. So I don't want to see us to do that to some of those businesses through there. But that's my main concern, is with the traffic. You add all of the people from the apartments through there. Departments worry me from the standpoint of traffic, but that it also worries me from the standpoint of I don't want to see that run down in 25, 30 years. And apartments have a tendency to do that sort of thing. I don't know what we can do to encourage that from not happening, but I don't want to see that and that space there. So those are my comments. Move along to Louise. Do you have anything else?
Rita, I'll address some of your concerns. When you look at there's 5 access points. You look at this plan, I can't see how most or even majority of the people that are living in the apartment, the high density residential aspect of this, are going to be choosing to go out Concord Road and taking a right to go out to North Shore.
It's not Concord Road that bothers me. It's Kingston Pike.
Okay.
Both left and right on Kingston Pike at that time of day.
Well, and that time of day, the problem isn't traffic. It's a stacking issue. And that's because there's an inefficient traffic pattern on the Farragut High School, middle school, and intermediate campus that bleeds out. Well, not so much the intermediate, but when the middle school and high school are getting in, there's 3,500 students there, plus teachers, plus administrators, plus all the support staff.
And families coming and going too. They drop the kids off and they don't park up there.
Yeah.
Stay.
So you end up with a stacking issue, and there's no road project or light timing that's going to make that better. These apartments are only going to put in about 6 or 7 students per school. That's how much the market rate apartments yield. They're not a driver who's going to want to go out to the highway or off to Kingston Pike is going to find a way. They're not going to get in the middle of that. They're not going to try to get in the middle of that. I mean, obviously, to some extent, they're close to it.
Well, unfortunately, you don't have too many options.
Yeah.
Because if
you come out at that red light there where they went into the old food line to that where at the bank that used to be there.
Yeah.
This is
you'll have to be turning on Campbell Station toward Campbell Station and go at North Shore. You could be coming out and say, okay, Kingston Pike's solid. I'm going to that red light, turn left and go up and turn right on Kingston Pike. And if there's a way, water's going to flow a pathway the same way vehicles go to. We've just got to look at. I'm not going to have all the answers right now, but we have got
and then do a traffic
that system analysis for the traffic study.
Yeah, and that all has to
this is John Gray. Can I interrupt a minute?
Yeah.
We're not talking about agenda item 8 anymore.
Well, what we're doing is sending the signals.
So I would recommend that we
talk planning aspects. I beg to do.
But item agenda 8 is talking about the amendments to the comprehensive land use plan. If we need to talk about the traffic problem, I think we need to talk about it after we get through our agenda, because that sounds like a new agenda item to me. I'd suggest we get through this discussion on the amendment text changes, and then if we want to go another agenda item at the end of our meeting, then I guess we can do that.
I agree, Commissioner Green. I'm sorry, I kind of got caught up in answering some questions, so sorry.
Well, I think it does relate somewhat, because we need to be careful with anything that we do that we are aware of the traffic situation, wherever it is in town. And I don't know, I've lived here 30 years and the traffic now is unbelievably heavier than it was even 5-10 years ago. And it's all a part of what we want to do with this mixed use or comprehensive land use plan. But I'm good with moving on. So Louise, do you have anything else to say? And Mayor?
Well, yeah, listened and as we look at what the traffic study will tell us, most of the time when they do those, they'll also have suggestions. And I think myself and Commissioner St. Clair would like to hear these suggestions. that they would have on what we need to do to help mitigate some of the issue. I do know that by the time that this center would get done, we would already have the school at Coward Mill already completed, or Knox County would, and that would be pulling students out of our school that are on the north side of the freeway, and that would be going to those schools over there. So if you figure the amount of kids that was in last year's school, or not this year, but because this year we're down because of COVID, and a lot of people are homeschooling, but or doing virtual. But still, if you were to figure that plus the amount of normal growth, you would be pulling approximately 200 students out of Farragut system and sent to the Hardin Valley system. So that's going to help matters a little bit. And the other thing is, once you know when you start to look at the other issues as far as traffic, you know that what we have suggested to the schools, and they've not really addressed it yet, but they have promised me they would, and that's to stagger the times that they start and end, and to where they can maybe have most of the time on the intermediate school, there you have a lot of drop off, and that like what Louise said, that causes stacking there, and then and the same thing with the middle, but then the high school, you've got a lot of kids that drive, and so that you've got a lot of exit and a lot of entry, depending on which time of day. But if they were to do as we ask, and this will be based off, of course, the traffic study, to try to stagger the start and let out times for the school, then I think that would help matters a lot. But as far as the current traffic that we've got, again, I think it'll be lighter in some areas and probably heavier in other areas, and that's just something we'll have to see what we can do to help make sure that we don't increase the amount of what I've considered the pinch point, and that's Concord Road and Kingston Pike. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mark. Do we need a motion?
Yeah, let me, like Commissioner Green suggested, let me just try to summarize Louise's comments and Noah's, make sure I've got it other than the one area, which I don't have. Because this does have to go to the Board of Mayor and Alderman. So if you all are comfortable making a recommendation tonight, that probably would be good, because they still need to review it for 2 readings. The first change, let me just go back to the language that was proposed, and that's to change mixed-use town center to town center district. And so under the first section, replace the word downtown with town center, a unique town center. Under the third bullet, provide for a built environment that prioritizes pedestrian activity but accommodates vehicular activity, or something, some kind of language like that. I'm not sure if I captured that exactly.
Okay, Mark, you might want to add pedestrian activity and walkability. I'm just trying to communicate that in a more general sense.
Walkability. Maybe say while also accommodating the vehicle or something like that.
Yeah.
Let me see. While also accommodating. Instead of having activity twice, maybe just accommodating the vehicle or something. Let me see. All right, so provide for a built environment that prioritizes pedestrian activity and walkability while also accommodating the vehicle, or while also accommodating vehicular activity, I guess. Does that sound okay to everybody?
Yes.
All right, under uses, down on the bullet number 4, just take out reference to mixed use and just call it Town Center District. And then under bullet 5, it's high density instead of higher. High density residential should only be permitted as part of a, and I'm not sure if we should say mixed use town center development plan. We may just want to say town center development plan, since that's the title of the
That's
district.
the question I was asking Louise about.
Yeah.
I think we probably ought to take out the word mixed use, because
Well, that was
the
my thought on
town
it.
center
Question.
district language, it kind of has all the other components built into the rest of the language. So I would recommend taking out mixed use there, so that the whole,
Yeah.
that it's all symmetrical. Now the next part I did not capture. I don't know what you said there. Something about Campbell Station, Concord Road, Brookline.
I wrote a town center development plan. I took out the mixed use. A town center development plan, which includes high density residential, is intended to be located only in the area encompassed by South Campbell Station Road, Concord Road, and Kingston Pike.
Okay. I'll get that language from you just to make sure.
Okay.
Is everybody's okay with that language, I guess?
Yes.
Okay, the next was just to strike the location section, and that's fine with me. I thought about doing that anyway. And I think the rest of the proposed language was acceptable. It's okay. That's all that I had. Does anybody have anything else that I missed there?
That's all I had.
Okay. Yeah, with those changes, which are very doable, the staff would recommend approval of Resolution PC-20-14, which recommends approval of now the amended Ordinance 20-20.
I'm going to move for approval.
Second. Do we have a second?
Second, Ed.
Okay. All right. Chairman Holliday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Mayor Williams, aye.
Vice Mayor Pavlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Dick,
Aye.
Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
and Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Myers, aye.
Okay, the motion passes 9-0 with the amendments noted.
Moving on to item number 9, discussion on an amendment to the Farragut Municipal Code, Appendix A, zoning, Chapter 4, Section X29, grant opening special events permit to provide for different sign related provisions. Town of Farragut applicant.
Yeah, this item was discussed last month as a workshop item, and I still have it as a workshop item. We had a little bit of discussion about the role of the Farragut Business Alliance in dealing with grand opening signs, and I wanted to get your all's feedback, guidance on this. I did meet with the FBA this week. We talked about, with Steve, we talked about maybe the role that the Farragut Business Alliance may play in relation to grand opening signs. And I guess there's a couple of different options. I think for purposes of consistency and branding, one option is just that the grand opening signs are they still have to follow the parameters of a temporary parcel sign and the time frame of the ordinance, 20 days. But they would be really under the control of the Farragut Business Alliance, as opposed to the town staff here in the town hall building. And that way, it would be a smaller sign. It wouldn't be the big void space in the current grand opening sign like you see on the screen. It would basically just be a grand opening sign that is kind of an outreach to really new entities like commercial and office services kind of entities that come to the town that we want to advertise that they have a grand opening for this particular entity. And that's basically under the control of the Farragut Business Alliance. And the other option is to allow the businesses to make their own grand opening signs. And basically then they can have a sign that they could reuse and just change the vinyl on a portion of it. So that was really kind of what I needed to, I kind of see the value of having the consistency and the branding, and that's kind of what we did with the sign that's on the screen. That's why the town owns these signs, is that we wanted to have control of the grand opening and basically have it as an element of outreach to new entities that are opening a business or having a service in the town, as a way to welcome them to our community. So I see that as maybe a good role for the Farragut Business Alliance. And if the entity wants to have a separate, Shop Farragut sign, then they could do that, because this sign is kind of independent of that. So I don't know how you all feel about that, but if you feel that's a good direction, then I can just kind of structure the language accordingly, and then just include the other changes that we already talked about to basically update the grand opening provisions to reflect how it's being applied, how it's been applied, and to acknowledge the fact that the sign ordinance has changed and the signage is different now.
Start out with Commissioner Bellamy. Do you have a question or comment?
No question or comment.
Commissioner Meyer?
No question or comments from Commissioner Myers.
Commissioner Dick?
Hold on a minute.
I'm sorry, Betty, couldn't hear you. Betty, we can't hear you.
Now, can you hear me?
Hear you now.
Okay. Comes up mute, but okay. The only thing I have is the size, if the business does their own sign. Is that in the current ordinance, or then we let them do what they want to do? The current size.
20 square feet. Yeah, it's 20 square feet.
Okay.
Like all the other temporary parcel signs for non-residential. Yeah, it'd be 20.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Green?
No comment.
Commissioner Russ?
No comment.
Commissioner St. Clair?
No comment.
Commissioner Holliday has a question. Mark, the town still controls the length of time that the signs are up. Is that correct?
Yeah, we would propose to keep that so that, it has a termination to it. It can't just stay out there forever. And we would still, in the case of this now, that there wouldn't be a deposit. I guess Steve with the FBA would have to figure out how he wants to administer, issuing these signs, how many we'll need, and he would have to kind of work with, I guess, our staff to monitor when these need to be taken back, I guess. So the main thing I just needed your all's feedback on was if you thought that really ought to just be a sign that's handled through the FBA, and it's their sign just for consistency and branding purposes, if that was the way to go. So really somebody couldn't make their own grand opening sign with that option. Basically it would be, that sign would be handled by Steve and the FBA. If the business or service wanted to have a separate sign as part of their 4 that they can have during the course of the year, then they could do that as well. And they could do it concurrent with the grand opening sign, just like we allow now.
Mark, I think that's a good idea. I know that Steve has mentioned that this morning in our FBA meeting, that this is a good opportunity for him to explain to them what the sign, our sign permits allow for the 4 special events and how they should build that into their marketing program. And by having a sign available that he can show them and say, this is your the grand opening sign, this is our sign, but this is a general idea of what it looks like, and these are the things it needed to have. I think a lot of times people are confused when you're opening up your business. They're confused about what this all means, this sign and the size and what you're allowed to have on it and how you go through the approval. And then having someone show up and explain it to you would be a good thing for our businesses to be introduced to the Shop Farragut program once they're up and running. So he was good with that. He realized that it's going to take some effort on his part, but it's where the responsibility is where it needs to be with the Farragut Business Alliance.
Okay.
Williams, do you have any questions or comments?
I have to agree with FBA being the one that handles that. It will be consistent that way. A lot of times when you drive down a Kingston Pike or something, and you're kind of really oblivious to the signs, or I am. But when I see a grand opening sign like that, like what we've had before, it's consistent, and we know that that's a business that's a new business that's opening up. So I agree with the FBA being the ones that handles that, working through our staff, of course.
Okay, Mark, this was for discussion purposes only this time?
Yes, it was.
Okay, have we given you enough information here?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like that's the direction we need to go. So I'll try to craft the language accordingly, and it should be ready for a resolution and an ordinance next month in October.
Okay, thank you. Item number 10, discussion and public hearing on public comment protocol for the Planning Commission meetings.
Yeah, basically this is this does need your action, and it basically is identical to the protocol of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I just simply changed out the different words. So it's pretty much identical to what the Board of Mayor and Aldermen is following, just to be consistent. And obviously this language relates to real, public meetings, not WebEx meetings. This is talking about, filling out the card and giving it to in the case of the Planning Commission meetings, it'd be the town planner or the designated staff instead of the town recorder. But more or less everything else is the same. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. A lot of this is pretty much the same as what we've had. Just some minor modifications here and there. Does need to be a Farragut resident. We've had some comments come in about various items recently, last few months, that have not been from Farragut residents. So need to be clear that the citizen comment is from a citizen. So I don't have any concerns or issues with this. I would recommend the Planning Commission approve the amended protocol, but if you all have any questions, I can try to answer those.
Commissioner Bellamy, any questions?
None at this time.
Commissioner Myers?
Commissioner Myers, no questions.
Commissioner Dick?
No questions.
Commissioner Green?
No questions.
Commissioner Russ?
No questions.
Commissioner St. Clair?
Are we assuming that if you're not maybe a resident, but you own property in the town, that you could still have a comment, right?
Yeah, I would think so.
If you've got a vested interest, you ought to be able to
Yes.
speak.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that needs to be more clear under two. I'm not sure. Any resident, any Farragut resident or Farragut property owner. I don't know how you would want to.
Yeah,
I think that's good.
I just didn't want to exclude some folks that have a vested interest in.
And also a business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah, we probably need to make that clear on both, for both committees, I guess. Farragut property owner or Farragut business owner. Okay. Can add that to number two.
And my question, Mark, is this will go on the back of the agenda that you put out for, okay.
It would, yeah, once we start having live meetings again.
Okay.
Yes.
And it is for, do we need to make it clear at this point that this is for live meetings, in-person meetings?
No, because I think it's pretty clear in the way it's worded. You have to fill a blue card out and give it to the planning director. So, I mean, it's, yeah, I think the way it's structured there is you couldn't really do that.
Okay.
I don't believe.
Commissioner Pablo?
Sorry, I don't have anything.
Mayor Williams?
Mayor Williams, no question.
Do I have a motion?
Agree with I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Okay, hold on one second here. Okay, Chairman Holiday,
Aye.
Commissioner St. Clair,
Aye.
Commissioner Green,
Aye.
Commissioner Bellamy,
Aye.
Mayor Williams,
Mayor Williams, aye.
Vice Mayor Povlin,
Aye.
Commissioner Dick, Commissioner Russ,
Aye.
Commissioner Myers,
Commissioner Myers, aye.
and the vote passes 9-0. And that would be with number two being amended, any Farragut resident, Farragut property owner, or Farragut business owner. And it passes 9-0, and that, let's see, okay.
Item number 11, approval of any of utilities. Do we have any, Mark?
We did not have any for this month, no.
Okay. And citizens forum is next. Let's take a 4 or 5 minute break here. I understand we're going to be here a little while longer. So better take your break while you can.
Okay.
Michael? I just wanted to say welcome to the Planning Commission. I don't think I've been here since you have been coming.
Thank you.
So we appreciate you taking your time to do this.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Some of our meetings run a little longer than others, but and, we usually have a student representative, and we always tell them to don't stay here until it's too late. So, but we appreciate you taking your time to do this.
Thank you, ma'am. Happy to be here.
Chairman, are you ready for me to start?
I am. Claire's picture is not back up there. I don't know about anybody else.
It's been 5 minutes.
Okay. Okay, let's get started again then.
Yeah, in case you didn't look at what was emailed out earlier today, there's 19 pages of public comments, so this probably will take a little while. But at least I can practice my reading skills, I guess.
And that's the reason for our break.
All right, so the first comment is from Rich Crompton. He's at 11118 Farragut Hills Boulevard. He had a comment for, it really wasn't necessarily directly related to agenda item number 8, and that was the COUP, Mixed Use Town Center item. He says, I support the changes proposed by this agenda item, which maintain the pieces central to a mixed-use residential / commercial town center area. Thank you for continuing to take resident feedback into consideration to update the COUP, which drives a lot of the decisions made by the commission, by this commission. The effort to buffer the residential piece of potential developments for the mixed-use town center is appreciated. He had a comment on agenda item number 10. I appreciate the effort to make public comment protocol consistent between various Town of Farragut meetings. It only makes sense and ensures all residents are treated equally with respect to sharing their comments for town officials. And then for this item, agenda item number 12, I'd like to thank this commission and the Town of Farragut for dedicating so much of their time over the years toward planning a town center area, and more recently for working with developers toward an actual plan for the old Kroger area. The plan is not perfect, but it is mostly in line with what the town had planned for a town center. Thanks for all that you do, Rich Crompton. Jeffrey Kendall, next comment, 12804 Pecos Road. This public comment is being submitted regarding the Ivy Farms development. The flooding issues at Pecos Road have finally been mitigated. However, residents are greatly concerned with the height of the lot adjacent top Pecos Road. It is about 20 to 25 feet high and creates a substantial runoff threat to our neighbors to the north, the Lupinis. I guess he said, heard that the commission ensure town engineer and staff re-examine the design being implemented by Goodall Homes to ensure that there's no adverse impacts in the long run. Also, the issues over the development's non-compliance with the International Fire Code remain. I've raised this numerous times since July. I asked the commission to direct the town administrator, David Smoke, to respond to our last request for the town's position on the clear non-compliance with the 2012 International Fire Code Section D104.3 that relates to having two separate fire apparatus access roads a certain distance apart. The next comment is from Joyce Sayers, 12812 Pecos Road. As the Ivy Farm development continues to proceed at rapid pace, as is already evidenced by the Pecos Road connection, I have concerns regarding the inevitable construction of Union Road and what the sequencing plans are for traffic while Union Road is under construction. It was my understanding that no traffic would be diverted through Saddle Ridge while Union Road is under construction. As we all know, that Pecos Road is not equipped to handle additional traffic from a safety standpoint. No sidewalks and longer straightaway. And I would ask that both the Town of Farragut and Goodall Homes be good neighbors and respect the residents of Saddle Ridge by keeping the connection closed until such time when Union Road construction is completed. The next comment, Sharidi Skinner, 12854 Pecos Road. First, I would like to thank you all for correcting the flooding issues on the Pecos Road from Ivy Farms construction. I'm pleased to see that the debris down our street is now maintained appropriately. I'd like to create this email today to inform you of my concerns with the Ivy Farms Pecos Road connection for vehicular traffic. My main concern is safety. Throughout Saddle Ridge is a high volume of pedestrian traffic by foot, bike, and other means as homeowners and their families make their way to the clubhouse, pool, tennis courts, playground, and lending library, as well as walk their pets. Due to the fact that our neighborhood was built in the late 80s and early 90s, we do not have sidewalks or traffic calming measures of any kind. The impact of having a straight connection through Pecos Road to Saddle Ridge Drive, along with the heavy pedestrian traffic, will undoubtedly create unnecessary safety and health risks to the residents of Saddle Ridge. As previously stated by Saddle Ridge HOA, a mutual compromise would be for the commission to allow the Pecos Road connection to go forward, but that it be designed strictly for emergency vehicle use and pedestrian traffic. This could easily be accommodated through the installation of gate bollards and raised bank, sidewalk, walking path with a sign, each of which would satisfy the town's desire for alternative emergency access points in and out of Ivy Farms and for additional pedestrian bicycle connectivity. If a gate were used and it were determined by the residents of Saddle Ridge and Ivy Farms at a later date that there was some sort of compelling reason to open the access way to regular vehicular traffic in the future, and that could be examined at that time. We are in opposition to Pecos Road being opened up to regular vehicular traffic from Ivy Farms. My family asks that you strongly consider approving the gate, which would satisfy the emergency entrance issue and allow for pedestrian bike traffic while also serving to prohibit vehicular traffic that Saddle Ridge is not prepared for, as stated above. We ask for town staff to consider the broader policy trade-offs between having regular vehicular connectivity, which is unnecessary, and ensuring safety, well-being of the Saddle Ridge residents. I appreciate your time and consideration on this matter. Next item is Tim Sayers, 12812 Pecos Road. Following are my comments that I would like to have read September 17, 2020, Farragut Municipal Planning Commission meeting during the Citizens Forum portion of the meeting. I'm also requesting that they be distributed to the members of the MPC prior to the meeting. My name is Tim Sayers, and I live at 12812 Pecos Road, which is located in the Saddle Ridge subdivision. These comments reflect the position of myself and my wife, Joyce. I have several topics that I would like to address. The first topic is about height and grading of what I believe is Lot 32 in the Ivy Farms development. As you're in the Saddle Ridge subdivision, standing at the end of Pecos Road facing the Ivy Farms development, this is the first lot in the left in the Ivy Farms development. It is adjacent to the lot at 12805 Pecos Road. This grading of this lot contributes to the stormwater runoff issues as an eyesore due to its height. This lot is at least 10 feet higher than the original grading of the land prior to the Ivy Farms development. It will be even more of an eyesore when a 2-story house is built on it. Please see the attached pictures, which I did email those to you all earlier today. I request that these pictures be shown on the overhead projector during the MPC meeting and also distributed to the members of the MPC. If the members of the MPC have not been to the end of Pecos Road to see how unsightly the grading of this lot is, I'm requesting they come and take a look at it. My next topic is the continued construction traffic going to and from Ivy Farms development using Union Road. MPC and town staff have committed that this would not be permitted. I'm requesting that signs saying no construction traffic be posted on North Hobbs Road and or Union Road to deter construction traffic coming off of Kingston Pike from Union Road, and also on Union Road where Ivy Farms development connects to Union Road to deter construction traffic leaving Ivy Farms development from using Union Road. I'm requesting that someone from the town lets me know if these will be installed. My next topic is that I'm still concerned about stormwater runoff, including soil from the Ivy Farms development in the Saddle Ridge subdivision in the area of Pecos Road. While after multiple revisions of stormwater runoff control has been done by the developer of Ivy Farms, the amount of stormwater runoff has decreased. There still is some stormwater runoff when it rains. Currently, there are multiple barriers in place to stop the stormwater runoff. When the construction is finalized and the barriers are removed, there will be larger amounts of stormwater runoff. My last topic is that I continue to believe that 2 entrances to Ivy Farms do not comply with the fire code provisions regarding remoteness. In the last month, I had commitments that had precluded me from spending time on this. Now that those commitments have been taken care of, I'm continuing to pursue this issue. Town of Farragut and Good All Homes still has a chance to be good neighbors and listen to the voice of the people who are residents of Town of Farragut and the neighbors of the new development of the Ivy Farm property. I'm once again asking the Town of Farragut and Good All Homes to be good neighbors in regards to activities and issues related to the Ivy Farms development. I appreciate the time and effort that the MPC members devote to the MPC. I also appreciate the opportunity to submit these comments. Thank you. The next items are going to relate to the town center project. First one is from Joe and Brenda King. I'm in favor of developing the old Kroger property as an upscale business community, but to add 291 apartments to the already overcrowded Concord Road area opposite Concord Hills is insane. Concord Hills has always been an upscale area, and the addition of 291 apartments, not condos, with at least 500 parking spaces would worsen the already overcrowded traffic on Concord Road, even with the addition of a traffic light at our entrance. To bring in rentals into our area will not only decrease our property values, but add to the worsening overcrowding of our schools. Also, I'm against raising the height limits of these buildings, which would violate the already legal Farragut approved height restrictions. We are not against progress, but our progress must be reasonable and consistent while maintaining the value and beauty of our community. Next is from Kate and Bill Serene at 11203 Crown Point Drive. Good evening. My husband and I are 5-year residents of Farragut and live in Concord Hills. We moved here specifically to live outside of a metropolitan area, but still close enough to enjoy the benefits of nearby Knoxville. We are deeply concerned about the proposed high-density housing on Concord Road in the old Kroger area. This will absolutely change Farragut and make it an undesirable place for those of us that worked hard to afford this area. We moved to the community for a reason. It's quiet, family-friendly, low crime, and a high quality of life. Much of that is due to the fact that this is largely a single family home community. Those that choose to live here, myself included, value those things. I know that there's an argument that shouldn't everyone get to enjoy living in Farragut. My response to that would be, shouldn't everyone get to enjoy living in Martha's Vineyard or Beverly Hills, California? Well, if the answer is yes, let's build lower income housing in that area as well. I'm sure the residents won't mind. It's the only fair thing to do. That argument just doesn't make sense. Why not build apartments in the middle of Sequoia Hills so everyone can live that lifestyle? Bottom line here is that you get to live in Farragut if you can afford to purchase a single family home. Then you get the benefit of the community as it is now: quiet, peaceful, low crime, great schools, etc. If this proposal is passed, it will obviously lower property values and make Farragut a less desirable destination for family living outside the city. Farragut will certainly lose its appeal to families if property values decrease, schools become massively overcrowded, and traffic becomes unbearable. Those issues will all cost money in the long run, and if crime increases, then it becomes a safety issue, and I guess we'll need more police. And let's not forget that at least 2 other apartment complexes are already in the works in Farragut. It's ridiculous to think that Farragut needs 3 apartment complexes. I have spoken to many of our neighbors and fellow residents, and I've yet to find more than a few people in favor of this. I did receive an email from Mayor Williams, and he referenced a survey sent out years ago regarding mixed use in this location. I've been here 5 years, and it was before my time. A years ago, survey is not acceptable. Residents now are not in favor. If they truly were, there would be no problem sending out a more current, clear survey regarding the use of this property. Since the mayor clearly stated that he would vote in favor of this because the majority want it, then I respectfully ask that you prove the majority want it. I would gladly give up new shops and restaurants directly in Farragut to maintain the community feeling here. I would much rather pay more in taxes than permanently ruin the area. I thank you for taking the time to hear our thoughts on this and hope you take them into consideration. Next comments from Scott, Ann, and Liam Wilkerson. 10816 Farragut Hills Boulevard. We heard about the proposed rezoning of the old Kroger Biddles Farm property and would like to express our concerns. While mixed use with restaurants and retail sounds awesome in that abandoned commercial area, hundreds of apartment dwellings could be problematic. I would welcome new Farragut residents, but I would challenge the developer to do 2 things. 1, invest in the 3 Farragut schools to expand them to handle the load of hundreds of additional kids. This investment would have to be enough to eliminate the 20-year-old temporary buildings my child finished 3rd grade in, which are moldy, rodent-infested, and suffer HVAC issues all school year. 2nd, invest in road infrastructure to ensure Concord Road doesn't see the brunt of ingress and egress. It simply cannot handle more traffic. If the developer is willing to address both these issues, we welcome the town center to the community. Next is Teresa Pratt at 10836 Farragut Hills Boulevard. In regards to the proposed building of an apartment complex on Concord Road, I confess I was shocked to learn of this, since this was drastically changed the landscape and makeup of our community drastically. My concerns begin with tiny Concord Road. The road is already congested as it is the route to North Shore Drive and the many folks who live back there, as well as those of us along the way. Adding another 300 plus vehicles to that road would not be wise or safe. Traffic School traffic puts another strain on the traffic flow on Concord Road, and adding 300 plus vehicles to those busy mornings with folks trying to get to work would be disastrous. We already have trouble getting in and out of our neighborhood now. Speaking of schools, our Farragut schools are already full. Can we even add potentially 200 more families with children who need to attend? Going from the antique barn, heartbroken when it burned down, and lovely fields where we often see wildlife, to apartments, I can only imagine that Farragut must have new leaders who are not connected to our community and climate at all. We have been known for our hometown feel and our top schools and our beautiful landscape. Please consider the negative impact this project will have on our Farragut community. Thank you. Next is Brent Mostiak, 10828 Farragut Hills Boulevard. I am a current resident of Farragut Hills. This property has been in my family's possession since 1985. We've seen a lot of changes to the area over the decades and have certainly paid our fair share of taxes to the town of Farragut during that time frame. I have recently learned of this proposed development and find it concerning for multiple reasons. First is traffic in and out of Concord Hills. It's a large one-entrance neighborhood which has become increasingly dangerous to enter and exit over the years. We have no choice to try an alternate route to avoid the heavy condensed traffic during the morning and evening rush. Is there a plan to make Concord Road 4 lanes to alleviate this, what is already dangerous? The idea of allowing a 300-unit apartment complex to be built in already condensed traffic area right by the Farragut schools, also dangerous concerning traffic in our neighborhood, seems to be poor planning when your fellow citizens in the area are concerned. Other concerns are the decrease in property values we will be facing due to this development. It certainly won't raise our property value. Next, let's see, are the Farragut schools ready for the influx of extra students? They were crowded when I attended in the 90s. This is a premium property centrally located in Farragut. Over the years, I've been excited to see what would happen when the farm in my front yard finally sold, knowing Farragut has always protected its own concerning development. Is this the best idea we can come up with for this area? My understanding is that we have to change town's building codes to allow for the height of the development to be legal. We can do better and make this area the best part of Farragut, not a logistical nightmare for those of us who live nearby. Next comment is from Phyllis Johnson, 11200 Crown Point Drive. Please delay rezoning of old Kroger / Bill Farms property until more study regarding safety on Concord Road and impact on neighborhood and schools. Living off Concord Road, the current level of traffic can be difficult during rush hours, school and work. Proposed 60 feet buildings are not in keeping with the aesthetics or predominant single-family dwellings that define the community of Farragut. Next, letters from Elizabeth. I have no idea how to pronounce her last name, sorry. 11117 Pleasant Forest Drive. To whom it concerns, it has come to my attention that there is a proposed rezoning of the old Kroger / Biddle Farms property for a redevelopment to a 291 unit high density community and retail town center across from my subdivision, Concord Hills. While I support growth in a community, I have major concerns related around this proposal. Additional traffic to be added to Concord Road is significant based on the nearly 500 parking spaces allocated for these apartments. As you may be aware, Concord Hills traffic entering and leaving the neighborhood is already very challenging during mornings and evenings due to the existing explosive development our town has had. This specific project will significantly add additional traffic and safety issues. Also, I am extremely concerned about the proposal to change the existing Farragut code to allow for an increase in height for this building to nearly 60 feet tall. One item that attracted our family to this community was a small town feel. With a large building of this size, it seems that we are removing the quaintness of the community with such a large structure. Please take our community's concerns seriously and reevaluate this current proposal. Next is from Phil Leach, 11125 Pleasant Forest Drive. We have lived in Concord Hills for over 30 years and have watched the traffic problem escalate where it's extremely hard to get out in the morning. Several wrecks have occurred on Concord Road as a result. We realize that the retail center will be good for the community. However, the apartments will put extreme pressure on our infrastructure. The next letter is from emails from Bernard Roche. I strongly oppose this development as proposed. The area from Campbell Station Road to Concord Road along Kingston Pike and down both Concord Road and Campbell Station Road is arguably already the most traffic congested area of Farragut. It bounds Farragut High, Middle, and Intermediate schools, and adding this congestion is a hazard to the parents and children going to and from the schools. We have already made a mess of this area with the ugly food truck edifice, which looks like some sort of prison to me. The thing makes a mockery of the beautiful park and restoration of the Campbell Station Inn just across Campbell Station Road at Kingston Pike. According to the U.S. Census Bureau's most recent data, Farragut averages 2.69 persons per household at a density of 1.413 persons per, or 1,413 persons per square mile. What is proposed equates to a population density of 123,552 persons per square mile, immediately across from the entrance to Farragut High School. If this is permitted here, what is to stop developers from insisting on the same thing throughout Farragut? This puts 589 more vehicles in this congested area, based on the Farragut average of 2 vehicles per household, as reported on the Data USA website. This sort of population density may also attract various sorts of crime against persons and property. I submit that this is a for-profit effort on behalf of developers, and it's definitely not the highest and best use of the property, at least not from the perspective of safety and security of Farragut. I believe the safety and security of the town must take precedence over our developers' rights, whether real or imagined. We fought against this sort of thing when the town was being formed, and we should do so now. The overriding issue then was annexation by Knoxville, and we formed Citizens for Home Rule to successfully oppose that effort. Rest assured, for those of us who were involved, there was also great concern over the types of development that might have come with the increased taxes. Allowing this development flies in the face of the efforts that were made to form Farragut. Next is from Gary and Eleanor Abbott, 11001 and 11005 Crown Point Drive. I have a few questions about the new high-density apartments in Town Center. Supposedly, there was a survey regarding the new Town Center. Out of approximately 20,000 Farragut residents, how many were surveyed? Where are the results? How many in the survey currently live in Farragut today? I've witnessed, somebody's got their mic on. Not sure who it is. Might be Betty. All right. I've witnessed most of the Biddle farms underwater from heavy rains many times. What is the plan to control flooding in this area? Schools are already at capacity. What plans for additional schools are in place to be executed for the influx of additional students? What plans are in place to relieve traffic congestion? How many more accidents do you need on the intersection Concord Road and Farragut Hills Boulevard, not to mention Campbell Station and Concord Road intersections to Kingston Pike? Next comment is from Matt Tafozli, 11128 Pleasant Forest Drive. Hello, I would like to express my opinion on the proposed community/retail center where the old Kroger building is located. I do not think this is a good idea for our community. While it can provide income, clean up the shopping center, it will add so many other issues that homeowners in suburban Farragut are not willing to accept. A few of these issues will be increased traffic on a 2-lane road in front of neighborhood entrances. Concord Road is already heavily traveled by individuals not living off the street. Decrease in property value due to apartment condos being built, increase in school enrollment to an already crowded system, and safety concerns. I've seen centers like this built in suburban areas when I lived in Atlanta, Charlotte, and Chicago. While the addition of retail dining is nice, the addition of multifamily developments comes at a cost. We moved from the Knox County area to be in a quieter part of West Knoxville to get away from exactly this. I believe this will cause some individuals to move out of the local Farragut area and break up such a great community. Concord Hills HOA has asked for a delay in the rezoning. I would ask that the rezoning isn't passed. Next comment is Debbie P. from 1081801, excuse me, Hills Boulevard. Somebody's got your speaker on. I am writing to request a delay in rezoning of this property till the traffic and safety issues have been fully addressed in this area, especially on Concord Road. There are already traffic problems on Concord Road due to explosive development to the south and west of the area, so that needs to be considered. I also ask that you limit the development so that we retain the rural and natural feel to the area we love here. Obviously, the old Kroger area needs to be developed, but please don't go overboard with high-density apartments and a huge retail area. Can it be done on a smaller scale to retain the feel of a town versus a city? Next comments are from Brian and Olga Cow at 11036 Crosswind Drive. As a 33-year resident in Knox County and a 10-year resident in Farragut, I'm disturbed to learn of the plans to add high-density housing in the heart of Farragut on the site of the former Kroger and Biddle Farms properties. Allowing additional construction of high-density housing in this area without first addressing the fundamental infrastructure issues that are already significant problems, specifically roads, traffic, and school capacities, is a complete abrogation of the Farragut Planning Commission's responsibilities for well thought out planning and growth. Such approval is beneath the town of Farragut. We moved to Farragut in part to escape from this type of ill-planned development that benefits only the developers at the expense of the long-term residents that is all too common in Knox County. Concord Road cannot take the current level of traffic on it, much less the dramatic increase that almost certainly will accompany the development of high-density housing adjacent to it. At a minimum, Concord Road should be widened and modified to put in traffic calming circles at each of the intersections south of Kingston Pike, or possibly traffic lights prior to the approval of a rezoning. It is very difficult to enter and exit Concord Hills already during periods of high traffic volume, and as you are well aware, there are no other points of egress from the neighborhood. The student pedestrian traffic along Concord Road will surely be put at additional risk were the development to proceed as proposed. Farragut schools have been at or above capacity the entire time we have lived in Farragut. The addition of high-density apartments will exacerbate that overcrowding significantly. Quality of the Farragut schools was the primary driver in our decision to move to Farragut. Farragut Municipal Planning Commission owes the current appearance and explanation of how the increased student population arising from additional high-density housing can be accommodated, because this is far from obvious. Installation of additional trailers at the schools should not be considered an adequate compensatory measure. The water quality of Turkey Creek is already badly damaged as a result of the development of the upper portions of the watershed 20 years ago. Properties in question are in the floodplain for Turkey Creek, and the potential for significant further degradation to the water quality from high-density housing. The other associated parking complex should be taken into consideration in terms of non-point source pollution and peak runoff. I'm not against development per se, and understand that the owners of the former Kroger commercial property have rights to develop their property within the existing laws, codes, and authorizations. However, if I understand correctly, changes to the Farragut Code will be required to accommodate the proposed high-density housing. That fact should be clearly explained to all of the current residents of Farragut. Generally speaking, residents of Farragut move to this fine town to escape from uncontrolled development of the sort proposed. And I don't think if any residents will support code changes to accommodate high-density housing. Like most current residents, I acknowledge that eventually all of the good parcels of Farragut will be developed, including the beautiful Biddle Farms. Development in the form of a typical Farragut neighborhood, freestanding single-family homes on decent-sized lots, is to be expected, but not the development of a high-density housing and retail center. Finally, the property values in Farragut are higher than those of the immediate surrounding area, specifically because of the town's longstanding adherence to rules governing development. Any thought that development will enhance property values is fallacious. Proposed rezoning of the property as requested for the retail town center and the high-density apartment complex should be rejected by the Farragut Planning Commission. Proposed development is incompatible with the Farragut that we moved here to enjoy. Please don't make Farragut another Cedar Bluff area. Next comment is from Hayden Oakley, Concord Hills Homeowners Association Board, 11103 Crown Point Drive. Dear Farragut Board of Mayor and Alderman and Farragut Municipal Planning Commission, this letter is to inform you that the Concord Hills HOA Board voted to formally request that this rezoning request be delayed for further review/study. Our primary concern is the safety traffic issue that would be caused by the high-density housing currently proposed. We would ask that a traffic study be done prior to any further advancement of this process, and also allow for further community discussions in regards to the specific proposed development, particularly direct feedback from Concord Hills residents. We only have one entrance exit onto an already highly trafficked 2-lane road that cannot be widened at our entrance. Please strongly consider our request as the HOA Board of Neighborhood with over 360 homes. Thank you so much. Next comment is from Jen Oakley, 11103 Crown Point Drive. I'm a resident of Concord Hills and have concerns surrounding the proposed rezoning of the old Kroger. I would love for independent boutique shops to go in there. However, I don't think that is the correct solution if it comes with apartments 60 feet tall and requires 500 parking spaces. Please, at the very least, review the safety traffic issues that this would cause on Concord Road, and with my neighborhood only having the one entrance exit. We moved to Farragut for the beauty and the schools. The schools are already gigantic and overcrowded as it is. Please don't ruin this side of Farragut. Add to the overcrowding and further congest traffic for one of the oldest neighborhoods in the town. We really think highly concerning the town of Farragut and are so hoping you guys will do the right thing this time. Please don't agree to this rezoning if it brings apartments. I'd love to see that space filled, but not like this. Thank you for listening. Next comment is from John Painter. He's at 1111 Crown Point Drive. I'm a 21-year resident of Concord Hills Subdivision in the town of Farragut. It's critical that the town of Farragut mayor and commissioners delay the rezoning decision for further review of the health and safety repercussions that will compound due to the traffic congestion that will increase the congestion that we already have. Concord Hills Subdivision only has one entrance exit, and we are already risking our lives every time we exit onto Concord Road from our subdivision. This area of Farragut and Turkey Creek Commercial are trapped between two of the busiest local exits on I-40, Lovell Road, and Campbell Station. All it takes is an accident or construction on I-40 to turn our traffic flow into an Atlanta 4 p.m. Backed up bumper to bumper traffic jam. We don't need another malfunction junction. Do I have to mention Farragut High School and its probable student plus traffic explosion? I doubt that a fire truck ambulance will make it to Concord Hills under certain conditions of traffic congestion, hence a health and safety disaster. I can understand the economic value to our town that the proposed property development adds, but Farragut citizens deserve the opportunity to input their foreseeable problems and to expect the town to propose solutions before rezoning approval. Some potential solutions might be to design and construct a second entrance exit to Concord Hills if possible, or maybe move the development further west near the Watt Road exit where traffic absorption would be more dispersed and leave the traffic flow near the center of the town. So again, I'm requesting a delay in the rezoning decision for further review of these safety and traffic issues, and also giving ample time for Farragut town citizens' input. Next comment is from James and Carol Taylor, 11108 Windward Drive. My husband and I both think the idea of 291 units of high-density apartments in this neighborhood, especially in such close proximity to the students in our high school, is not prudent. We fear for the temptations, drugs, sexual exploitation, truancy that these apartments might provide. We have lived in Concord Hills since 1977. We choose to live here for pastoral atmosphere, peace and quiet and beauty. We do not want to have a hustle and bustle of so many more people and cars and trucks congesting our streets. It's hard enough already to exit onto Concord Road. Commercial aspects of the old Kroger property seem okay, but not these apartments. Next comment is Drew Lancaster from 10928 Farragut Hills Boulevard. Resident of Concord Hills here. I ask you to vote no on the rezoning proposal for the old Kroger Biddle Farm development. This development isn't in the best interest of all of Farragut in the long term, in my opinion. This plan has serious flaws, starting with the negative impact on the aesthetics of Farragut. The traffic flow and impact on the adjoining high school location hasn't been completely thought out. The request for increased height, are you serious? The traffic flow on Concord Road is horrible right now. Add in this development and you will have instant gridlock. Next comment is from the Aikens at 10901 Lookout Point. We would love to express strong opposition. We would like to express strong opposition to the proposed rezoning of the old Kroger Biddle Farms property that would permit the construction of high-density apartment units on that site. As residents of Farragut for 29 years, we cannot imagine the impact of introducing 291 60-foot high apartment buildings into our community. Has anyone given consideration to the effect of approximately 500 additional cars flowing out into the surrounding roads? We already have trouble getting out of Concord Hills subdivision due to the backup of traffic at the Concord Campbell Station Road traffic light, which regularly extends to Kingston Pike. In late afternoon, we often have to keep driving west to Campbell Station Road to circle back to Concord Road, be able to enter Concord Hills. Where will the extra traffic line up? Into Kingston Pike? In addition to the traffic problems that we believe is a nightmare waiting to happen, we are also concerned that high-density apartments located at the center of the town would be a catalyst to change the very nature of the area, where the diversity of house styles and values in Farragut subdivisions is what attracted us to and others here in the first place. Please do not permit this to be destroyed through rezoning. Thank you. Next comment is from Robin Mostiak, 10828 Farragut Hills Boulevard. Good morning. I am a resident of Concord Hills and would like to voice my opinion on the rezoning request for the old Kroger Biddle Farms property in Farragut. Concord Hills traffic is already very congested and there's only one entrance and exit. Building a 300-unit apartment complex would significantly complicate our traffic issues further. In addition to the safety of entering and exit our neighborhood, the widening of Concord Road leading to the roundabout, while needed, has already made traffic difficult in the mornings and evenings, and a new apartment complex would make it unbearable. Farragut High School is already overcrowded and it's hard to navigate that area during school hours when students are coming and going. Adding more students would be even more of a nightmare. Please do not allow this rezoning effort to pass. Next comment is from Doc Pratt at 10836 Farragut Hills Boulevard. In regards to the proposed building of the apartment complex on Concord Road, I was shocked to learn of this, since this would have a very negative impact on our community. My concerns begin with 2-lane Concord Road, which is already congested as it is, the route to North Shore Drive, and the many folks who live back there, as well as those of us along the way. Adding potentially 500 vehicles on that road would not be wise or safe. School traffic puts another strain on the traffic flow on Concord Road, and adding that many vehicles to those busy mornings with folks trying to get to work would be disastrous. We already have trouble getting in and out of our neighborhood and during either morning or afternoon rush hour. It is virtually impossible to turn left as it is. It is my understanding that Concord Road and Farragut Hills Boulevard can never be widened because of the cemetery. Farragut schools are already full. Can we even add a potentially 291 more families with children who need to attend? Please consider the negative impact this project of adding 291 apartment units will have on our Farragut community. I'm not opposed to commercial development, especially the old Kroger property, but I am opposed to adding 291 apartment units. That would have a disastrous impact on our community. Next comment is from Christy Arcario, 405 Monitor Lane. I would love to see something nice happen to the old Kroger, but I really don't think a huge apartment complex is the answer. Schools are so overcrowded, as is the traffic on Concord Hills and Concord Road Station and Camel Station is already at such a high volume. There is so much construction already going on off North Shore that brings morning and afternoon traffic. I can't imagine 291 unit complex adding to that. We moved here from Orlando, and the town of Orlando built on every piece of green there was, and it absolutely does nothing for the aesthetics of a town. I love Farragut for so many reasons, but that is definitely one of them. Please don't overcrowd us. Thank you for your time. Next comment is from Jim Frula, 11108 Flotilla Drive. Dear Commissioners, I'm completely opposed to proposed changes to existing code to allow for increasing the height of the Biddle Farm apartments to nearly 60 feet. I vote in every election and have lived in Concord Hills since 1982. I have been grateful to the town of Farragut on many occasions for maintaining and improving the quality of the town. Allowing tall apartments in this location is ridiculous and seems to be a sellout to developers. The increased congestion will not benefit our citizen residents. Please do not change the existing code. Thank you. Next comment is Elizabeth Ritchie, 11029 Flotilla Drive. I've been a resident of Concord Hills and Farragut for 38 years and experienced the development of this area from fields and sheep at the intersection of Cedar Bluff and Kingston Pike to its current location and its current level of development as far as Avalon. The majority of the development has been thoughtful and well developed. However, this new idea of 291 unit high density apartments across Concord Hills is a ridiculous endeavor and threatens the safety and well-being of the entire community. Concord Hills purposely has only one entrance exit, and it is on the Concord Road at Pleasant Forest Cemeteries, which I would assume precludes any widening of the road. The addition of at least 291 new residents would add untold amounts of traffic, which would make it virtually impossible to navigate Concord Road during the best times, let alone during peak times or at times of bad weather. Please put the well-being of the current residents of the community above the poorly thought out plan for financial gain. Consider a park, fitness trail, gathering area. Next comment is Sherry Bonessen, 406 Moser Lane. I'm writing in opposition to the proposed rezoning of the old Kroger Biddle Farms property. I moved to Concord Hills subdivision about 27 years ago for its quiet rural setting in close proximity to an excellent school system. As Farragut has grown, the ability to exit Concord Hills subdivision on the Concord Road during rush hour has become steadily worse, even dangerous. During most of the week, there is now traffic noise from Kingston Pike and from the Concord Road, Camel Station Road area, which can be heard in some areas of Concord Hills as a persistent hum. The addition of this high-density apartment complex at this location will exacerbate both traffic and noise pollution for residents in Concord Hills. Prior to rezoning for this type of development, I asked that the following be taken into consideration to assess the impact on all Farragut residents as well as the specific concerns of the nearby subdivisions which will be most impacted by this construction. These concerns include traffic flow problems, exits, entrances, gridlock, speeding, bicycle safety, pedestrian safety. 2, noise pollution due to increased traffic flow during rush hour and throughout the day. 3, light pollution from high-rise apartment complexes. 4, air pollution, more cars traveling into and out of the area on a daily basis. 5, stormwater management. Is this area located in the middle of a flood zone? Sinkholes, is there a sinkhole located in this area? 7, increased number of students at the school. 8, parking problems. Will Knox County Schools provide more busing for Farragut High School students who normally drive to school and use the old Kroger parking lot during school hours? Will the number of parking spaces be sufficient for apartment dwellers, their visitors, business patrons, and football fans on game nights? Who will monitor parking in this area, ticket, and perhaps tow illegally parked cars? Infrastructure maintenance and repair. Number 9, who pays for this as systems age and need to be expanded, upgraded to meet increased demands like sewer system, clean water, road repair, parking lot resurfacing, etc. And 10, loss of natural open space and subsequent displacement of the wildlife. In addition to the concerns listed above, high-rise apartment buildings are out of character with the surrounding residential neighborhoods. Farragut Town Center should be designed to enhance and support what makes Farragut a desirable place to live. That is the natural beauty of the area, a relaxing atmosphere, the excellent school system, interesting wildlife, the vegetation, and the open spaces. Please do not approve rezoning this location. Thank you for your consideration of my concerns. Next comment, Deborah Hemmer, 11137 Windward Drive. Without hesitation, numerous good has come from wise decisions, and you are to be applauded. However, I feel sure a traffic study has not been measured. It takes 30 to 45 minutes to reach a school from less than 1 mile away. In the afternoons, traffic is worse and backed up to Biddle Farm or further to reach Campbell Station. You want to add an additional 500 plus cars to this nightmare. Please factor in more than a profit and look at things in the long run. Have you encountered Campbell Station in the afternoon? I encourage you to try to go south from Campbell Station on 75, especially on a Friday. Farragut is not prepared for this. The schools are already deplorable in structure, amenities, and the crowds. Teachers are missing. You want to add more students? Please consider realistic facts to this overall big picture. Thank you. And the last comment is from Mike Mitchell at 716 Brixworth Boulevard. I'm disappointed and frustrated in the lack of public input and the lack of vital studies on the proposed apartments and retail space at the old Kroger and Biddle Farms. Back in 2005, the original Farragut Town Center was proposed as something like Market Square Mall in downtown Knoxville. Mixed-use project, with retail on the first floor and condos on the second and third floor. Back then in 2005, the idea of 280 apartments across from Farragut High School and Middle School was not considered. It should not be considered now. This is too large a departure from the original 2005 Farragut Town Center plan. this new proposed Farragut Town Center is not really a mixed-use project. It is 2 strip malls with a grass median between them and way too many apartments for this location. This does not elevate Farragut. It makes Farragut worse. This project should be delayed until the residents of Farragut can be heard. It should be delayed until a traffic study and hydrology flooding study can be reviewed. There has been talk from the mayor and vice mayor about how the majority of residents support a town center. Myself and others have asked to see the Novak consulting study that the mayor and vice mayor used to support their claim. This past week, Wendy Smith wrote in Knox 10 Today, in 2017, a survey conducted by Novak Consulting as part of an update to the town strategic plan asked residents how important a vibrant downtown is to the future of Farragut. 74% said it was important. I was told, as others have been, that we have to fill out an open records request for this public document. I believe this is a violation of the Tennessee Open Meetings Act. Why is there so much resistance? Why is there so much resistance is complying with residents' requests for public documents by the town of Farragut. And that concludes the citizen comments. That's all I have.
Chairman Holiday, it's David Smoke. Do you mind if I just make a quick comment?
Go ahead.
I think what the last comment was referring to is the Tennessee Public Records Act. And we take that act very seriously. In fact, what we do is ask you to fill out a simple form. When you fill out that form, that gets sent to our town recorder, who is our records custodian. And then she works on getting that whole comment filled. So the issue is we have 7 business days from when that was filed. I'm sure we will get that in plenty of time before that record's up. We didn't actually get a request from the commenter here tonight. We got another one from a different resident, but we'll make sure we get that filled out. We take this very seriously, and we make sure we get our records back to the folks that request them as soon as we can.
Thank you, David. Does anybody else have any questions or comments?
Motion to adjourn.
I was about to say the September the 17th, 2020 Farragut Municipal Planning Commission is adjourned.